another week, boys, and another disappointing community event. Now, I want to preface this video by first saying that I'm not mad. Really, I'm not. I'm just disappointed. Now, if you didn't know there was a community event going on, that's completely fine. It's quite literally a fart in the wind. But this week, Bungie actually released the community quest to restore the Eliksni quarter. Now, this event was supposed to take the community about 2 weeks to complete, and the plan was to passively generate captain's coins by participating in different activities. Granted, the core playlists were actually bugged, at least initially, and the first day went as planned. And by night, the community actually hit the first upgrade, which, by the way, fellas, drum roll, was a set of stairs. We're gonna get to that later. But what's most important is what happened after. Completing the first upgrade unlocked the ability to donate map fragments and treasure coordinates. Now, for those of you that don't know, there actually exists a glitch with the Captain's Atlas that allows you to duplicate treasure coordinates when you swap treasure maps. Now, these treasure coordinates were worth the same amount as Captain's coins. So players quickly swapped strategies and stood in the tower swapping maps and donating coordinates. This astronomically increased donation progress, hastening the completion of the event from what was supposed to be end of the season to a mere 25 hours. All right, so the event didn't necessarily offer the challenge that we were hoping for, but were the rewards at least good? More specifically, how does the Eliksni quarter look now with all the upgrades? Should be all fixed up, right? No, not at all. The state of the Eliksni quarter is honestly downright embarrassing. Now, in front of you is actually some comparisons before and after photos of each of the upgrades. But if the goal was to actually offer support to our Eliksni friends, this is the equivalent of a charity school drive. And we spent 400 million currency, these captain coins, on a set of stairs, some drinks, supplies, and some wooden benches. By God, this is the bare minimum. Not only that, the hell of captain coins. 400 million. What is this in dollars? It's like 400 bucks, man. It's so bad that the community is actually blaming Spider, who by the way is actually running this event, for mishandling charity funds and pocketing all the money. And boy, I wish that was the case. Take for instance these stairs, before and after. Ooh, look at that. Big change. The ether tank, before and after picture. You know what's so funny about this? Literally the bar itself was actually this crowded at the beginning of the season during the cutscenes, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, not really. The garden, which by the way we called the other day. I was like, man, watch there just be a few plants added, and Bungie's like, look at this, it's an upgrade. And sure enough, they just threw some plants in here, as if the Fallen didn't know how to plant plants. And there it is, after 25 hours, the final upgrade, a single light. That's the upgrade. Downright pitiful. Now, as much as the results for the event were pretty bad, there is some things that I wanted to touch on, because I do believe that there is some feedback Bungie listened to from previous community goals that at the very least made these events quality of life a tad bit better. And to do that, we do need to look at past events, because I know some of you are saying this is the worst one, but Bungie's been like competing with themselves on the worst community events for years. Now, what's not included in this list is of course secret missions and puzzles. That's a whole other thing. We were hoping for that, but that's not the case. We've already made a video, by the way, talking about secret quests and how much we miss them. But these are some of the major events that we've had over the past few years. Empyrean Foundation. This was actually during the season of Dawn. The community actually had to donate to complete the quest A Bright Future, but also had to contribute to the linking of the Sundial Obelisk for Season of Dawn. And by donating polarized fractalines, you'd complete time-lost weapon bounties. This was actually great because you could farm god rolls for the seasonal weapons. Now, this event serves as the direct inspiration for the Eliksni event. It is in the exact same spot in the tower. Both of them required players to donate materials, and both had reward incentives for donating. The only difference is that the rewards for the Season of Dawn were actually way better. You could get deep sight weapons from the Eliksni gift boxes though, but I wouldn't necessarily say they were farmable. And it can be deep sights for all weapons, not just the seasonal ones. So it's very common you just get crafting materials. Next was the Line. This was probably the worst one. Seraph Tower public events and Season of the Worthy. We were fighting off waves of ads to help Rasputin rebuild his Warmind network to fight off the Almighty and the Pyramid ships. Now, this event actually required 9 million Guardian completions to unlock the next quest step for what would reward Fellwinter's Line. The problem with this event was you couldn't reliably get more people to matchmake and help complete the event since it was in a patrol zone. So to reliably win the event, you needed more than a fire team of 3. And Bungie also set the goal way too high and eventually had to reduce the number of completions required so the community could finish on time. The most damaging result of this event is now the community sentiment in regard to community events is, if we don't finish it in time, Bungie will just move the goalposts, which is a dangerous game to play, friendo. Honestly, Bungie, you should just be harsh about it. Just be like, okay, you guys suck. No loot for you. Now, this idea was also backed up by the Vow of the Disciple Day 1 race, as well as during Black Armory with the Bergruzia 4 Forge. Not that these are necessarily bad things, but just like the situation with the Forges back then, there was a lot of people saying, hey, we paid for this content and we can't even access it because you got some stupid puzzle that has to be solved first. By the way, I hate that mindset. Granted though, I do believe in having realistic goals. The one good thing that came out of the Lie and the Seraph Tower public events was that Bungie has been a lot better about matchmaking for events. And this actually came to benefit in the Season of the Haunted. Now, Season of the Haunted fragments, these were also locked behind containment completions on the Leviathan. The community had to keep playing these to fully unlock our solar subclass. Now, we had to complete 20 million containments. The event took the community about a week and a half. The problem was there was actually no tracker for the event. So we had to rely on Bungie to let us know what our progress was. Also, some people actually ended up getting fragments early due to bugs. So not everyone had all the intended fragments locked. Containments had its own tab when queuing into the Leviathan. So if you wanted to farm public events, it wasn't hard to find lobbies with people already doing the event. This addressed the issues that we had with Seraph Towers and that community event. In the Eliksni event, Bungie implemented a tracker in the game that lets us actually see event progress. There was also a website that tracked progression as well and estimated the time of completion. By the way, that was a great addition. Also, something we saw that was new to this event was the addition of assets in game without a hotfix. This concept is actually pretty cool. It just needs to be, of course, more expansive. Ultimately, guys, the event was a letdown though. It's not the end of the world, but it is disappointing. Usually we don't get much happening at the tail end of the season, but if you're gonna do something, it needs to be better than the bare minimum. And for Bungie's sake, I'm actually very glad the event was only 25 hours. Can you imagine if this actually took us 2 weeks long of everyone grinding their butts off to suddenly see these incremental upgrades in the Eliksni quarter? Like, oh, 2 weeks and we've got corn. Yay! Now I do see what Bungie's trying to do this season. And if you've been paying attention, they've been stretching out content to last every week of the season so that there's something always going on. The seasonal story lasted 8 weeks as opposed to the usual 6. Then Grandmaster's released. And after Grandmaster's, it was immediately Festival of the Lost. And after Festival was over, the Telesto debacle, which by the way has been the highlight of the season. And of course, now the Eliksni event. I assume this next week will be the season story finale. And then we'll be in season 19. I do think that having things happening every week in a season is a great move. But the stuff happening needs to be worthwhile. Literally all we did to the Ether Tank was add some drinks and people. And this is already what it looked like in the cutscenes during the start of the season. So what the hell happened? Who took the alcohol? And when we're told to spend 2 weeks rebuilding the Eliksni quarter, we want to rebuild it. The Fallen are still living in the ruins of a war zone in the last city. And with 400 million of anything, you would think we could have done much better. Hell, we could have built a house with all those Captain coins, right? Either way it goes though, guys, I am very happy to be seeing this season come to a close. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.